Hello and welcome again to another episode of Battle Ready. Ready. Where today we thought we'd take just a small detour away from AOS, although not too far a detour. We'll be back to AOS in just a few minutes. But we thought we would talk a little bit about Combat Patrol. Now, if you don't know, 40K has a way to play where once you buy one of their starter kits called Combat Patrols, right? For AOS, they're called Vanguards. They used to be called Start Collecting Boxes. Now they're called Vanguards. In 40K, they're called Combat Patrols. And they've developed a game where you can play it with just what comes in the Combat Patrol. So you don't have to worry about list building. You don't have to worry about buying a bunch of extra stuff. You can just get that and be able to play. Now, it's simpler. And it's not the full, it's smaller, obviously. But we've played a couple of games now, 3 games, I think.
Yes.
You know, we have the Space Marines and Tyranids from the starter set.
Yeah.
And then we just recently got Orcs.
Orcs.
And I think that's going to probably satisfy us for a little while. If we keep enjoying it, we may branch out and get one more army. We'll just see. But for now, Drake, Combat Patrol, good or bad?
Good.
Good. Why good?
I like that it's small.
Yeah, I was just a little bit worried about getting into 40K because, frankly, when it comes, if I have my choice between fantasy or sci-fi,
Fantasy.
I pick fantasy. I like wizards and swords more than I like bullets and
Lasers.
laser swords, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like sci-fi too, but between the two.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff looked cool, and what really got me into it was into the idea of it. Is I like that 10th edition of 40K really simplified things down. And then Combat Patrol gives you the ability to play with you just buy the box and you're good to go. You don't need to worry about list building. You don't need to worry about any of that stuff. You can play it and you can have a 40K experience. So overall, I think Drake and I both like it. And I wanted to compare it today to 2 things. First, Kill Team, which we didn't really like.
No.
And AOS, which we love. We like both of those. So, Drake, how does this compare to Kill Team?
It's similar in that it's small.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the board. It's actually 2 Kill Team boards stuck together.
Yes.
That's the size of the board.
I think where we went wrong with Kill Team is I actually don't know where we went wrong with Kill Team.
Well, I'll tell you what I like about it. I like that you still get a good amount of models, but you're still using units. So I only get, in Kill Team, you might have 10 guys, each of which has their own unique profile. And you have to decide which ones are in cover and which ones aren't, which ones are engaged versus concealed. Right? And there's a lot of rules on it. And then you can only make so many saves. So even if I get 4 hits, you're only allowed to make 3 saves with a lot of units. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of bloat that attaches to Kill Team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean it's bad, and a lot of people are going to love that crunchiness, right? For a lot of people, that's a selling point. But for me, it was too much. If I want to play a small game like that,
it needs to be simple.
It needs to be simpler, which is I love Warcry, right? Warcry, you have 8 to 10 dudes, but it's simpler, right? It's much simpler. So, Combat Patrol you get the sense of having a lot of guys out, especially with like the Tyranids or the Orcs. You have a lot of guys out there, but at the same time, you have only 4 or 5 units, so you only need to pay attention to 4 or 5 war scrolls or data sheets, and so it keeps things simple. And then the rules are pretty simple, very similar to AOS. So there isn't the same learning curve where we have to learn about different engagement orders and different things like that. And it was much easier to play. And I like that it's a little bit bigger than Kill Team, but you still get the sense of lots of models. It doesn't feel empty, right? You get the sense of lots of things going on. So it feels a lot bigger, even though really it's simpler, I think, than Kill Team.
Mm-hmm.
Any other differences you like or dislike?
I don't think I have any, but there are definitely some for AOS.
Yeah, so that AOS is where we love.
Oh,
right?
Yes, it's the best.
It's the best. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things because there are differences between 40K Combat Patrol anyway, and 40K and
AOS.
AOS. So what do you like? Let's talk about let's talk first about a couple of differences we dislike. What's something from Combat Patrol that you wish that you like better when it's in AOS?
I hated the You Go, I Go.
Yeah, so there's no priority roll, right? So no opportunity for a double turn. I actually agree. I know when AOS came out, there was a lot of shaking of fists and gnashing of teeth when people were saying, this is terrible. Sometimes you get a double turn. It's unfair. It's too random. And after playing AOS for the past several years, and now I could sort of understand that. Sometimes you do get a bad double turn.
Yeah.
It happens. But more often, especially as we've played more and more, really what you do is if you're going first in the round, you need to play in such a way that if you get double turned, you hopefully don't get squashed, right? Or sometimes, especially if you're behind and you're trying to catch up, you just go for broke and hope you roll good, right? All right, if I don't get the double here, I'm probably going to get squashed, but I'm losing anyway. So here we go. So it's that random element actually adds a lot of tension. It adds a lot of narrative flavor. It's fun. And we have definitely had games that were going to be one-sided.
But then
the double turn brings the person back in, and suddenly you've got a good game again. And in 40K, it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, no changing of the turns. And it is a little bit more dull. And it's more dull not only because all that tension is removed, but also because I can move knowing I'm not going to get double turned, right? I know you're only going to get to go once before I go again. And that allows me to be a little bit more aggressive. It allows me to place my units in ways that I might not otherwise. So, yeah, I agree. I wasn't a fan of that. And, people might disagree. And I think maybe if you disagree, put it in the comments below. I'd love to read those disagreements. But, gosh, having experienced both now, I like the AOS way better.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else?
I don't like the way that the way targeting works or multi-damage works.
Ooh, so this is something I actually like.
Oh.
So what do or don't you like about it?
I do not like that if I shoot my missile at a unit of Termagants, only one dies.
Yeah,
damage should carry over.
Damage does not carry over in 40K. So we actually played this wrong our first time, maybe our first 2 times, but we for sure got it. Well, I shouldn't say for sure. We think we got it right in our most recent game. But I actually sort of like it because it makes you pick your targets, right? If you've got some kind of big thing that does 3 damage or something, or D6 damage, something crazy, you don't want to shoot it at little 1 wound models. You want to shoot it at their big boys. And so it makes it so that your big boys are going up against their big boys, and your infantry is fighting their infantry. Whereas sometimes in AOS, oftentimes, it can be really good to take your big model and just smash their little guys.
Yes, that's what you do. That is what you do.
That's because it's super effective. Because I can smash in, that damage carries over, and I can wipe a big chunk of your battle line.
That's what I like.
And yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I do it all the time. I like it. But I think it's an interesting twist in 40K where you have to think about, you can't just take your big model and point it at something and know it's going to die. You have to take your big model and try to figure out how can I most effectively use this. In AOS, monsters are just
big things.
Effective. They're just good. They're going to hit on whatever. They're going to wound on whatever. But in 40K, those monsters are going to be way more effective, or vehicles, or whatever they call them. But those big units are going to be way more effective against other things that have multi-damage. They're going to be good against characters. They're going to be good against monsters, stuff like that. What about, so here's one thing that 40K has that AOS does not, and that is strength and toughness. So in AOS, your profile just says you wound on 3s. And then it doesn't matter if you're fighting little Grots
or gigantic behemoths of doom.
Archaon and Nagash, right? You get to wound on 3s. So it totally doesn't take the strength, the the model you're fighting into consideration at all. You wound on 3s. Whereas in 40K, your gun or your blade or whatever has a strength, and then depending on the toughness of the unit, your wound changes. So if I'm much stronger than you are, I might be wounding on
3s or
3s
2s.
or even 2s. If you're much tougher than I am strong,
5s or 6s.
5s or even 6s. So that way your little guys with their wimp weapons are going to not do that much damage because they're not even going to wound some big thing, right? And then the opposite is true. Your big thing probably going to do a better job of wounding little guys. What do you think about that?
I don't like it.
Why is that?
I feel like it's your character in AOS at least. It represents like your character skill. This is how good they are at hitting things. So they should be able to wound even some giant monster.
So my opinion on this changed a little bit. At first, when I read it on paper, it seemed like a real good idea. And there is a strength and toughness system in Warcry,
yes,
which I like. I like it there. So I thought I would like it in 40K. And I don't hate it. So I don't want to call this out as a terrible thing. But it's sort of, I mean, just higher strength is better.
Yes.
Almost like lower to wounds is just better, right? I mean, I don't know that it adds that much flavor. Now, when you combine it with the targeting thing, I think it does start to feel more interesting. But if you look at it sort of on its own, I don't know that I'm in love with that system. In fact, I think it might be a little bit more complicated than it's worth. I think that going to a straight to wound system is just simpler and maybe funner.
Yes.
But I don't hate it either. I think it's there. And as we explore it a little bit more, I'm keeping an open mind on that one. All right. So we've covered some things that we dislike. What do we like? What is good about 40K as opposed to AOS? I'll tell you a couple things while you think. First, I think the coherency rule is better because you only have to be within 2 inches instead of 1 inch. And I think the combat rule is better because in AOS, your weapon range is 1 inch, 2 inch, or 3 inches, right? And that's it. In 40K, it's 1 inch, or if you're in base-to-base contact with something that's in base-to-base contact. So basically, you always get to fight in 2 ranks. I think that's really good. I like it that it's simple. I like that you don't have to worry about guys fighting over the top if they have 3-inch range or whatever. I like that a lot. It's just a good way to deal with combat. Still thinking?
I got nothing.
All right, I got another one then.
All right.
I don't know that I love it, but I think it's better than AOS, and that is the Battle Shock system.
Nope.
I don't like that in AOS you fail Battle Shock and models run away. I don't like that it happens on a single D6. And I don't like how bad you can get posed by low bravery, particularly in destruction armies. Like if you're destruction, bravery is the worst. It's super punishing. And it's not like otherwise your models are super good, right? I feel like for the ease with which trolls or Ardboys or Grots run away, I feel like they should be fewer points. I think they're pointed like other things. And then if you're playing Death or Chaos, you're basically straight 10s, except for, Escape, a couple of things, right? But if you're Demons, Chaos Demons, or anything Death, you're straight 10s, and Battle Shock is basically meaningless. So I just don't feel like it's a good mechanic. In 40K, anything that's below half strength, or a single unit that's below half health, you roll in your command phase, and if they fail their Battle Shock test, they can't get command abilities spent on them, right? Stratagems, 40K calls it. They can't contest objectives, and if they retreat, you have to make a test to see if some of them die in the retreat. So I think that's way better. Way, way, way better. I hate the models running away, and I like that the Battle Shock is meaningful because if they can't contest objectives, you can't get points. And if you can't use command abilities on them, that can change things up a lot. So I like that it has a meaning, without being a free kill for your opponent. So I'm not saying that should be exactly ported over to AOS. I think there's probably ways you could do it even better, but I like that better. You don't?
I love the running away.
All right, why is that?
Because that symbolizes like, oh, we can definitely die here. I'd rather go run away and live.
Yeah, I think thematically, I think it's narratively good. I just don't think it's a fun play experience to watch your guys.
I like.
You like it when I run away. Do you like it when your trolls run away?
I'm just
when
like,
I kill one troll and then you roll a 6 and you lose 2 trolls.
I'm just like, dang it. Also, in the event that you kill a troll, I always spend it on Inspire.
What if I kill a troll from each unit?
Then I kiss one goodbye. Not that that's ever happened.
So I don't think, I'm not as big of. I think 40K does that better. Anything else?
No.
One thing that 40K does that I think is interesting, and I'm not sure I like it better, but you get points at the start of your turn, which means that you have to go out there and get on an objective and then hold it through your opponent's turn so that when it gets back to your turn, you can score it.
That's what I don't like.
Yeah, you don't like that.
I don't like that. I feel like you need to be able to have a chance to get there.
I sort of like it because it shuts down things like I retreat onto the objective and then I just get my points.
That I would like it. I think I would like it more if 40K had the randomized turn.
Okay.
Because otherwise, your opponent could be like, oh, look at those dumb dudes just sitting on the objective. I'm going to go murder them.
Yep.
So that he doesn't get points.
No, I could see that with the randomized turn. That would, I think the randomized turn would help it anyway.
Yeah.
But I could see that. But I do think that's interesting. Do I like it more than AOS? I'm not sure. Maybe. Drake does not.
No.
Maybe, but I think it's an interesting difference. Anything else that we really like 40K over AOS?
I got nothing.
Oh, I can tell you one thing that I am not as big a fan of in 40K, and that's the amount of shooting. It's like every army's Caradron, where everybody's
that's
shooting,
the best.
and it's not as fun to me. It's not as cool to be like, my guy killed you from way over here, and you got shot in the leg and died. I don't know. It's not as evocative to me as getting into close combat. That's why when we played Orcs recently, and there was a lot of close combat, that was funner for me.
Bam.
Drake was the Orcs, and he was chopping up my Tyranids.
So happy.
But that was more funner. I do like the close combat, but that's also part of why we like the fantasy. So piling all that up, where would you rank between 1 to 4, AOS, 40K, Kill Team, and Warcry? How do you rank them?
AOS is 1.
Okay.
Warcry is 2. And then I don't know between Kill Team and 40K.
Really? You think they're about even?
They're about even.
Interesting.
I liked it.
So I also would put AOS first.
Oh, yeah.
I think I would put Warcry second, and then Combat Patrol third, and then Kill Team is off the board. I didn't like it. I don't like Kill Team. I don't think it's fun, and it's okay. It's not a bad game. I shouldn't say I don't think it's fun. I just think it's a lot more hassle than it's worth.
Well, maybe when they
especially when you have Combat Patrol and Warcry, both of which give roughly similar experiences and are simpler and easier and therefore, to my mind, funner. All right, well, any final thoughts?
Nope.
So definitely, if you have played Combat Patrol, let us know in the comments what you think about it, and in particular, any pluses and minuses you see for it as compared to AOS, because I think Drake and I both love AOS the most.
Oh, yes.
I don't foresee us getting even 1,000-point armies in 40K. It's just not.
Not yet.
I don't know. It's just not something I'm super willing to. I shouldn't say willing. It's not something I'm super interested in.
Not even Orcs?
No, I would rather get more Ironjaws. I would rather get more Orcs for AOS. So I don't know that we're going to be building it out any farther than Combat Patrol. But it has been fun, It has been interesting, and it has been, I think, to my mind, really interesting to see how it tweaks and to see things that I liked and things that I don't, especially as we get close to 4.0. Right, by this next summer, I think we are all expecting 4.0 to be released, and it'll be interesting to see do those, how much of 40K comes in. Because, 9th edition 40K was a lot more
AOS?
complicated.
Huh.
And I don't know, maybe complicated is not the right word, but there were more phases, right? There was more things going on
So,
to
like,
track.
Old World tried to jump in, almost?
No, probably not that bad. But they definitely simplified it down. And I wonder if 4.0 will take a cue and simplify things down.
I think it's good how it is.
Yeah, I
They
really like it.
simplified it from 2 to 3.
No, they made it worse. They definitely added more.
Yeah,
because 2 didn't have heroic actions, didn't have monstrous rampages.
But it made it all better.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's 3.0 is better, but it's not simpler. So I wonder if there will be some simplification in 4.0.
I hope not. I like all the rules.
I definitely like where it is now.
I just want them to fix cover.
Yeah, the terrain needs work for sure. And I could see some changes to Battle Shock. But overall, I would love to see, I'm very interested to see how much of the 40K system sort of bleeds into AOS.
Wall.
A wall.
No wall, no Kemi.
All right, well, this has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Ready.
Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah.